All right, guys, welcome back. I hope you had a great spring break. So we're gonna kind of review what you guys did the last week before spring break, which is a little bit of factoring the GCF, and then where it's about factoring trinomials from there. So just a review of GCF. I know Miss Sanders had did this with you guys before. So if I had 5x to the third power minus 20x to the second power plus 10x, the way we like to do it is we would look at our numbers out front, 5, and we list the factors that multiply to give me 5, so that'd be 1 and 5. Negative 20, right, I could do 1 and 20, 2 and 10, 4 and 5, and then 10. I could do 1 and 10, 2 and 5. So we're kind of looking for the number that they have in common in all of them that's the biggest. So in this case, it's going to be a 5. So our GCF, we know, is going to have a 5 in it. So then we also do the x's. So the first one has 3 x's. The second one has 2. The third one has 1. So then we just circle the most amount of x's we can that's in each term, which in this case is just 1x. So we're going to have 5x as our GCF. So whenever you factor out the GCF, you'd write 5x, and then in parentheses, you're going to put what you have left over. Well, if you think about it, I took away the 5 in the first term. I took away ax in the second term. So how many x's do I have left? Well, if you look at this, I have 2 x's left, so I would say x squared. Okay? The next term, negative 20. Well, what do I need to multiply 5 by to get to negative 20? That would be negative 4. And I took away 1x, so that means I have 1x left over because I had 2 of them. The last term is 10x. I took away the x, so I don't have to worry about that, but I got to worry about what I need to multiply 5 by to get to 10, and that would be a positive 2. So that is factoring out the GCF and what it would look like. We'd like to do the same thing on the next problem. So list out my factors of 6, my factors of 3, and my factors of 9. As you can tell, 3 is the biggest number, so I'm going to write a 3 on the outside. I list out, this one has an x and 2 y's, this one has 2 x's and a y, and this one has an x and a y. So if you look at it, I can only take out 1 x from each one and 1 y from each one. So x, y would be in our GCF. So then I would have 2, because 3 times 2 would give me 6. And then I also have 1 y left over. The next one, 3 times 1 gives me 3, so I don't have to worry about that. The y is covered as well, but I do have 1 x left over, so I'm going to write just a positive x. And the last one would be negative 3 is going to give me a negative 9. I already have the xy, so that would be factoring out the GCF. So the nice thing about this lesson is we kind of use that information to help us factor a trinomial. So it says, what two numbers multiply together to equal 15 and add together to equal 8? So that's in puzzle A over there. So what two numbers multiply together to equal 15 but add together to equal 8? So let's do the factors of 15. So that's 1 and 15, 3 and 5, and that's it, right? Well, if I add 1 and 15, I get 16. If I add 3 and 5, I get 8. So the answer to this one would be 3 and 5, are the two numbers that multiply together to get 15, add up to 8. So then B says what two numbers multiply together to get 15 but add together to equal a negative 16? Well, I can do 1 and 15, 3 and 5. But when I add these, I get 16 and 8. Well, I wanted a negative 16. So remember, if I do a negative times a negative, so if I change the signs, well, wouldn't that add together give me negative 16? But when I multiply it, I get a positive 15. So our answer to that one would be negative 1 and negative 15. Puzzle C says, what two numbers multiply together to equal negative 15 and add together to equal negative 2? Well, negative 15, I know 1 and 15, 3 and 5, and I can just make one side negative to make it a negative answer, right? So let's make the right side negative. Well, 1 plus negative 15 would be negative 14. 3 plus a negative 5 would be a negative 2. And that's what I'm trying to get. So your answer here would be 3 and negative 5. And then in D, this is what two numbers multiply to give me a negative 15. Add together to equal negative 14. Well, we kind of already did it, right? That would be 1 and negative 15. So we kind of use this information to help us answer the problem here. So we're not going to use algebra tiles just because it's virtual. We can't really do that. So instead, here's how factoring works. here is my polynomial. And if you notice, it's a trinomial. Okay? The leading coefficient's a 1. And that's very important for whenever we do the next day stuff. So this is what you do. You look at your last number. So what multiplies to give me 6? So I'm going to list out the factors of 6. So what multiplies to equal 6? So I'm going to do 1 and 6, 2 and 3. And notice I always start with 1, and I go from there, and I did 2, and then you try 3, 4, 5, whatever it is. Okay? So then I'm going to add those. Well, 1 plus 6 would give me 7. 2 plus 3 would give me 5. And if you notice, 2 and 3 is what I'm after because that equals that middle number in the middle. So I want it to multiply to the outside, but add to middle, which in this case would be 5. So 2 and 3 does that for me. So whenever you do this, factoring is like the opposite of multiplying. So I know I'm going to want to multiply it, so I need to break it into parts. So I could do x and x in the beginning, and I'm going to do plus 2 and plus 3. And the reason why we do x and x in the beginning is because if I multiply those, I'll get that x squared that I started with. So now that is my answer. That is factoring right there. So the big block is the answer. Now, could you check your answer? Well, yeah, we could FOIL or do the box method. I'm going to do the box method here. X times x is going to give me x to the second. 3 times x is going to give me 3x. 2 times x is going to give me 2x. 3 times 2 is going to give me 6. So then I would combine like terms. And I would get x squared plus 5x plus 6. Well, notice, if I FOIL it and I get back to what I started with, that means I factored correctly. So again, I can't stress this enough. Your answer is in the big black box. X plus 2 times x plus 3. But you can always FOIL to check your answer. Okay? Or the box method. In this case, I did the box method. So we kind of dive into it now. It's always got to multiply to the last number, but add to the middle. So let's do 36. So I would do 1 and 36, 2 and 18, 3 and 12, 4 and 9, 6 and 6. So if I add those, I'm going to get 37, 20, 15, 13, and then 12. Well, I want to add to the middle number, so the pair I'm looking for is that 4 and 9. So when I factor it, I'm going to say, remember, I got to put it into x and x, and I got to put plus 4 and plus 9 because I wanted to use a positive 4 and a positive 9. So that is you factoring. That is your answer. Now, could you FOIL it and check it to see if you did it correctly? Well, yes. All right, so go ahead and pause the video and try this problem right here. I'm underlining in blue. So x squared plus 11x plus 28. So again, I will list the factors of 28. 3 doesn't go into it, so I'm not going to use that. 4 and 7. And that's it, right? So then we can add them to see what works. So that'd be 29, 16, and 11. Remember, I wanted to add to the middle number, so 4 and 7 is going to be my pair. So I'm going to say x plus 4, x plus 7. All right? So hopefully you did that correctly. So x plus 4 times x plus 7 would be the factored form of x squared plus 11x plus 28. So then we kind of get a little bit tougher because we're going to throw in a negative. So that was all when they're all positive. So this one says x squared minus 11x plus 18. So I want it to multiply to 18, but add to negative 11. If you have a negative in the middle and a positive at the end, that means both your numbers need to be a negative when you factor. So I would say negative 1, negative 18, because what's a negative times a negative? Well, that's a positive. So when you do this, I would add them. That'd be negative 19, negative 11, or negative 9. Right here, if you notice, it's negative 2 and negative 9 adds up to that middle number. So I'm going to say x minus 2, x minus 9. And again, could you always FOIL or do the box method to see if you got the right answer? Yes, you could, because if you FOIL it, you should get back to what you started with. So go ahead and pause the video and try A and B, and I'll put the workout here that goes along with it. So I would do 15. Remember, it's a negative here, so they both need to be negatives. So if I add those are the only factors. This right here is my pair because it's going to add up to that -8. So I'm going to say x minus 3, x minus 5. So then I would go to 42. 1 and 42, 2 and 21. 3 goes into it 14 times. 4 does not. 5 does not. 6 does. Notice I want them all to be negatives because it's going to be a positive when I multiply. But when I add, I want it to be a negative number. And this pair right here adds up to that -13 that you're after. So it's going to be x minus 6, x minus 7. Okay. And the last one I think is probably the hardest one, just because it's going to multiply to a negative number, but add up to whatever's in the middle. So this one, I would do -6. So that'd be a 1 and a -6, a 2 and a -3. So whenever it's a negative number, just pick one side to make negative. So I just picked the right side. So whenever I add this, I would get -5 and -1. Well, none of these add up to that middle number. However, this right here is a -5. If I made the 1 negative instead of the 6 and I added them, would that give me a +5? The answer is yes. So just because it doesn't add up to the middle whenever you made your side negative means you can flip the negative to the other column to make it what you want. So I would say x minus 1, x plus 6. Again, go ahead and try A and B, and I will put the answers in here. So on A, it should have been a +2 and a -7. On B, notice mine, I got a -6. I want a +6. So if I switch the negative to the 2 instead of the 8, it gives me a +6. So I'm going to say x minus 2, x plus 8. Okay? So then the last one kind of gets a little bit tougher, but really it's kind of the same thing. So I still want it to multiply to 24, except for now you see this y squared. So I'm just going to attach a y to it. So 24, we're going to list our factors, 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6. So I'm going to add them. Well, if you notice, 4 and 6 adds up to that 10 that I want, but this one is a little bit different because I need a y to make it y squared at the end. It should be 10, it should be 4y. Because I have the y squared at the end, I need to put a y on each one at the end. So go ahead and try for A right here by yourself. Kind of using that one as an example. So it's very similar, right? We still list the factors of 32. Four and 8 adds up to it, but now whenever I write it, I would say 4y and 8y. That way whenever I multiply, I got y squared. And that is pretty much factoring. So if you guys have any questions, please let me know. Your homework is to complete Pearson, I believe it's 7.5. And again, if you are struggling with this, you need to reach out because we're almost to the end of the unit. We're going to do one more lesson and then we're going to take a test. So make sure you understand these concepts, okay? Have a great day, guys.